Assertiveness skills, the preemptive peace paradox, how avoiding conflict guarantees it. Chapter 1. The silent explosion. How your attempts to keep peace create war. You're about to learn why your instincts about conflict are exactly backwards. Pay attention to Liam's story, because you'll recognize yourself in it, and what comes next will change how you handle every difficult conversation you have from this point on. How many difficult conversations are you avoiding right now? One with your partner? One with your manager? Every time you stay silent to keep the peace, you're not avoiding conflict. You're just delaying it. You're not keeping peace. You're training yourself in suppression. And that training doesn't stay in one area of your life. Liam's fiancée made a comment that bothered him. Something about his career ambitions being cute. He didn't say anything. It wasn't worth a fight, he told himself. 2 weeks later, she said something similar. He stayed quiet again. By month 3, he wasn't just bothered, he was resentful. He started being short with her, withdrawing, finding reasons to be unavailable. She asked what was wrong. Nothing, he said. Then one evening, something small happened. She was 10 minutes late, and Liam exploded. Not about the lateness, about everything he'd never said. Here's what actually happened. Liam didn't avoid conflict. He just delayed it until he had no control over how it emerged. This is the pre-emptive peace paradox, the belief that avoiding difficult conversations preserves relationships. It doesn't. It weaponizes the relationship by converting unspoken grievances into relational landmines. Chapter 2. The Science. Why Silence Destroys. Now you've seen the paradox in action. But why does this happen to all of us? In this chapter, we're going under the hood of your brain to understand the mechanical failure that turns small issues into explosions. This is the science that makes the solution possible. And, more importantly, it gives you a precise framework to stop this cycle for good. The preemptive peace paradox is rooted in a fundamental misunderstanding of relational conflict. We think of conflict as relationship damage, something to be avoided to maintain harmony. But research in relationship psychology shows that conflict avoidance is actually a stronger predictor of relationship dissolution than conflict frequency. Why? Because unaddressed issues don't disappear. They accumulate and metastasize. Here's the neuropsychological mechanism. When you experience something that violates your boundaries or values and you don't address it, your brain doesn't file it away as resolved. It stores it as unfinished business. Each similar incident activates the previous ones, creating what's called stress stacking. You're not just reacting to the current moment. You're reacting to the accumulated weight of every previous moment you didn't address. This is why people have disproportionate reactions to seemingly minor incidents. It's not about the lateness or the dishes or the comment. It's about the pattern you've allowed to become entrenched by never asserting when it started. For Liam, this pattern had roots. Growing up, he watched his parents' marriage dissolve in constant screaming matches. He internalized a narrative. Conflict destroys relationships. So he developed a strategy. Peace through silence. Don't rock the boat. Accommodate. Smooth things over. This worked in his childhood home where he had no power to change the dynamics. But he carried it into adult relationships where he did have power. The power to address issues while they were still small and solvable. What Liam didn't understand. There's a fundamental difference between conflict avoidance and conflict management. Avoidance is refusing to address issues. Management is addressing them before they escalate. He thought he was preserving his relationship. He was actually poisoning it with accumulated resentment. That diagnosis leads to a single question. What does repaying that debt look like in practice? Not with a confrontation, but with a recalibration of your voice. So, if the cycle is this automatic, if our avoidance is a habit built on a misunderstanding, how do we interrupt it? This leads us to the framework, not for confrontation, but for calibration. Chapter 3. The framework, how to calibrate conflict and reclaim your voice. Here's the turning point. Knowing the problem isn't enough. Now, you get the framework. Liam learned 3 specific, repeatable skills that broke the cycle. Watch closely, because these are the exact tools you'll be using yourself by the end of this video. It works in your relationship, your workplace, and every conversation where you've been playing small. Here's what changed when Liam learned assertive conflict calibration, a framework for addressing issues at the right time and scale. First, he started practicing real-time boundary assertion. When something bothered him, he addressed it within 48 hours, while it was still a specific incident rather than a generalized pattern. When you called my ambitions cute yesterday, that felt dismissive. I need you to take my goals seriously. Notice, he's not attacking. He's reporting his experience and stating his need. This is assertion, not aggression. Second, he learned issue isolation technique. Instead of letting incidents accumulate until they became character indictments, "You never respect me," he kept each conversation focused on the specific behavior and his specific need. "I need you to arrive when you say you will, or text me if you're running late. That's important to me." One issue, one request. Solvable. Third, he implemented what we call vulnerability-based assertion. Instead of framing boundaries as demands, he started sharing the impact. "When you minimize my career plans, I start withdrawing because I don't feel safe sharing that part of myself with you. I don't want to do that. I want to feel like we're on the same team." This wasn't manipulation. It was honest information about cause and effect in the relationship. The result wasn't more conflict. It was less. Because addressing issues when they were small and specific prevented them from becoming large and catastrophic. His relationship didn't become perfect, but it became workable. And in some cases, his assertion revealed incompatibilities that needed to be addressed. But at least he was making informed decisions based on actual conversation rather than accumulated silence. Chapter 4. The Cascade Effect. How one skill transforms your entire life. This is where it gets interesting. The skills Liam learned didn't just fix his relationship, they unlocked a better version of him everywhere. In this final chapter, you'll see how mastering assertiveness in one area cascades into every corner of your life. And you'll get your exact action plan to start the process today. What happened next was even more interesting. The skill didn't stay contained within his relationship with his fiancée. Within months, he noticed the same shift at work, speaking up earlier, setting clearer boundaries. What Liam discovered applies to everyone. You don't have a relationship self and a professional self. You have one nervous system, one set of behavioral patterns, one default response to discomfort. The version of you that can't say, "That comment hurt me," at home is the same version that can't say, "I disagree with this direction," at work. The person who avoids conflict with their partner is the person who underperforms in salary negotiations, who lets scope creep destroy their projects, who stays silent when colleagues undermine them. Wherever you practice suppression, you strengthen suppression. Wherever you practice assertion, you strengthen assertion. Apply assertive conflict calibration in both your personal and professional relationships. 1. Use real-time boundary assertion. Address issues within 48 hours before they become patterns. 2. Practice issue isolation technique. Keep each conversation focused on one specific behavior and one specific need, not character attacks. 3. Deploy vulnerability-based assertion. Share the actual impact on you and what you want instead. Your relationship isn't just your personal life. It's where you're either building or destroying the courage you need to advocate for yourself everywhere else. You can't be two different people. The one you practice being at home is the one who shows up at work. Choose carefully.